Welcome to IMDbios, a weekly, short-form Old Hollywood Biographies series featuring mini biographies of Golden Age stars written 100% by IMDb users. This series will serve as teaser bios for various Golden Age stars that will be featured on the long-form Old Hollywood Biographies series in the future. It will also serve as a way for you to vote on who your favorite stars are and who you want to see featured in the long-form bios series. Please be sure to like and leave a comment on each IMD bio. Tell me what you loved about it, what you want to see more of, and who you want to see featured next. The first 8 episodes of IMDbios will feature the most popular actresses of the Golden Age of Hollywood. After those are released, your votes in the comments will determine who I cover next. And now, let's begin. Please sit back, relax, grab some popcorn, and enjoy our feature presentation. Marilyn Monroe was born Norma Jean Mortensen on June 1, 1926, in the charity ward of the Los Angeles General Hospital. Her mother, Gladys Pearl Monroe, was born in Mexico to American parents from Indiana and Missouri, and was a film cutter at Consolidated Film Industries. Marilyn's biological father has been established through DNA testing as Charles Stanley Gifford, who had been born in Newport, Rhode Island, to a family with deep roots in the state. Marilyn grew up not knowing for sure who her father really was. Gladys gave Norma Jean the name of Baker. Poverty was a constant companion to Gladys and Norma. Gladys, who was extremely attractive and later worked for RKO Studios, suffered from mental illness and was in and out of mental institutions for the rest of her life. And because of that, Norma Jean spent time in foster homes. When she was 9, she was placed in an orphanage where she was to stay for the next 2 years. Upon being released from the orphanage, she went into yet another foster home. In 1942, at 16 years old, Norma Jean married 21-year-old aircraft plant worker James Doherty. The marriage lasted only 4 years, and they divorced in 1946. By this time, Marilyn began to model swimsuits and bleached her hair blonde. Various shots made their way into the public eye, where some were eventually seen by RKO Pictures head Howard Hughes. He offered Marilyn a screen test, but an agent suggested that 20th Century Fox would be the better choice for her, since it was a much bigger and more prestigious studio. She was signed to a contract at $125 per week for a 6-month period, and that was increased by $25 per week at the end of that time when her contract was lengthened. Her first film was in 1947, with a bit part in The Shocking Miss Pilgrim. Her next production was not much better, a bit in the forgettable Scudda-Hoo, Scudda-Hey. 2 of the 3 brief scenes in which she appeared wound up on the cutting room floor. Later that same year, she was given a somewhat better role as Evie in Dangerous Years. However, Fox declined to renew her contract, so she went back to modeling and acting school. Columbia Pictures then picked her up to play Peggy Martin in Ladies of the Chorus in 1948, where she sang 3 numbers. Notices from the critics were favorable for her, if not the film, but Columbia dropped her anyway. Once again, Marilyn returned to modeling. In 1949, she appeared in United Artists' Love Happy. It was also that same year that she posed nude for the now famous calendar shot, which was later to appear in Playboy magazine in 1953 and further boost, if not altogether start, her career. She would be the first centerfold in that magazine's long and illustrious history. The next year proved to be a good year for Marilyn. She appeared in 5 films, but the good news was that she received very good notices for her roles in 2 of them. The Asphalt Jungle from MGM and All About Eve from Fox. Even though both roles were basically not much more than bit parts, movie fans remembered her ditzy but very sexy blonde performance. In 1951, Marilyn got a fairly sizable role in Love Nest. The public was now getting to know her and liked what it saw. She had an intoxicating quality of volcanic sexuality, wrapped in an aura of almost childlike innocence. In 1952, Marilyn appeared in Don't Bother to Knock, in which she played a somewhat mentally unbalanced babysitter. Critics didn't particularly care for her work in this picture, but she made a much more favorable impression later in the year in Monkey Business, where she was seen for the first time as a platinum blonde, a look that became her trademark. The next year, she appeared in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes as Lorelei Lee. It was also the same year that she began dating the baseball great Joe DiMaggio. Marilyn was now a genuine box office drawing card. Later, she appeared with Betty Grable, Lauren Bacall, and Rory Calhoun in How to Marry a Millionaire. Although her co-stars got the rave reviews, it was the sight of Marilyn that really excited the audience, especially the male members. On Thursday, January 14th, 1954, Marilyn wed Joe DiMaggio, then proceeded to film There's No Business Like Show Business. That was quickly followed by The 7-Year Itch in 1955, which showcased her considerable comedic talent and obtained what is arguably one of the most memorable moments in cinema history. Marilyn standing above a subway grating and the wind from a passing subway blowing her white dress up. By October 1954, Marilyn announced her divorce from DiMaggio, though the divorce was not finalized until October 31st, 1955. In 1955, she was suspended by Fox for not reporting to work on How to Be Very, Very Popular. It was her second suspension, the first being for not reporting for the production The Girl in the Red Velvet Swing. Both roles went to other actresses. Her work was slowing down due to her habit of being continually late to set, her illnesses, and generally being unwilling to cooperate with her producers, directors, and fellow actors. However, in Bus Stop, 1956, Marilyn finally showed critics that she could play a straight, dramatic role. It was also the same year that she married playwright Arthur Miller. They divorced January 20th, 1961. In 1957, Marilyn flew to Britain to film The Prince and the Showgirl, which proved less than impressive critically and financially. It made money, but critics panned it for being very slow-moving. After a year off in 1958, Marilyn returned to the screen for the delightful comedy Some Like It Hot with Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon. The film was an absolute smash hit, with Curtis and Lemmon pretending to be females in an all-girl band so they can get work. This was to be Marilyn's only film for the year of 1959. In 1960, Marilyn appeared in George Cukor's Let's Make Love with Tony Randall and Yves Montand. Again, while it made money, it was critically panned as stodgy and slow-moving. The following year, Marilyn made what was to be her final film, The Misfits, which also proved to be the final film for the legendary Clark Gable, who died later that year of a heart attack. The film was popular with critics and the public alike. In 1962, Marilyn was chosen to star in Fox's Something's Got to Give, a remake of My Favorite Wife, alongside Dean Martin and Sid Charisse. Marilyn soon filmed a scene in which she swam naked in a swimming pool. To generate advance publicity, the press was invited to take photographs. These were later published in Life magazine. This was the first time that a major star had posed nude at the height of their career. When she was again on sick leave for several days, Fox decided that it could not afford to have another film running behind schedule when it was already struggling with the rising costs of Cleopatra. On June 7th, Fox fired Marilyn and sued her for $750,000 in damages. She was replaced by Lee Remick, but after Dean Martin refused to make the film with anyone other than Marilyn, Fox sued him as well and shut down the production altogether. The studio blamed Marilyn for the film's demise and began spreading negative publicity about her, even alleging that she was mentally disturbed. It looked as though her career was finished. Studios just didn't want to take a chance on her because it would cost them thousands of dollars in delays. Fox soon regretted its decision and reopened negotiations with Monroe later in June, a settlement about a new contract, including recommencing Something's Got to Give, and a starring role in the black comedy What a Way to Go was reached later that summer. She was also planning on starring in a biopic of Jean Harlow. To repair her public image, Monroe engaged in several publicity ventures, including interviews for Life and Cosmopolitan, and her first photo shoot for Vogue. For Vogue, she and photographer Bert Stern collaborated for 2 series of photographs over 3 days. One a standard fashion editorial, and another of her posing nude, which were published posthumously with the title The Last Sitting. Marilyn's housekeeper, Eunice Murray, was staying overnight at her home on the evening of August 4th, 1962. At 3 a.m. on August 5th, Murray woke and sensed that something was wrong. She saw a light from under Marilyn's bedroom door, but was unable to get a response and found the door to be locked. Murray then called Marilyn's psychiatrist, Ralph Greenson, who arrived at the house shortly after and broke into the bedroom through a window. He found Marilyn nude, dead in her bed, with her hand clamped around the telephone receiver. Monroe's physician, Hyman Engelberg, arrived around 3:50 a.m. and pronounced her dead. At 4:25 a.m., the Los Angeles Police Department was notified. Marilyn Monroe died between 8:30 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. on August 4th, 1962. The toxicology report showed that the cause of death was acute barbiturate poisoning. Empty medicine bottles were found next to her bed. She was only 36 years old. Her funeral, held at the Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery on August 8th, was private and was attended only by her closest associates. The service was arranged by Joe DiMaggio, Marilyn's half-sister, Bernice Baker Miracle, and Marilyn's business manager, Inez Melson. Hundreds of spectators crowded the streets around the cemetery. Marilyn was later entombed at crypt number 24 at the Corridor of Miracles. During her lifetime, Marilyn Monroe acted in only 30 films, but her legendary status and mysticism will remain with film history forever. Sadly, conspiracy theories and pop culture myths have almost completely erased her true history and caused people to overlook the woman that Marilyn Monroe actually was. It is my hope that the Old Hollywood Biographies series on this channel is able to correct her erasure and ensure that she is remembered as she would have truly wanted to be. To this day, Marilyn Monroe is still one of the most beloved and popular actresses of the Golden Era, and her memory is permanently emblazoned on the minds of movie fans the world over. May we endeavor to never forget who this incredible woman truly was, both in front of the camera and behind it.